Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Donald Trump just can't help himself. He's meddling again in the India-Pakistan equation because apparently unsolicited advice is America's new export. We'll tell you what he said this time as the two countries clashed at the United Nations Security Council. Meanwhile, he's announced more trade deals, this time with Japan and the Philippines. They follow the same playbook. What is the formula to getting a deal with Trump, and will India go down that route? As of now, India is pursuing a reset with China. The latest concession, tourist visas for Chinese citizens. We'll try to make sense of this move. In Parliament today, we saw a bold push for sports reform. A new national sports bill promises transparency and accountability. We'll tell you why the BCCI may not be happy. Also in focus, why Ukrainians are protesting against President Zelensky, why SpaceX is warning investors about Elon Musk's foray into politics, how Iran and Israel may be fighting a new shadow war, and why Sam Altman says artificial intelligence may make entire industries vanish. Plus, India has jumped ahead in the global passport rankings. And what is the superbug crisis that is set to cost the world $2 trillion a year by 2050? That's the bill for ignoring science. The headlines first. Thailand escalates its border row with Cambodia, expels the Cambodian envoy and recalls its own ambassador. The move comes after a Thai soldier lost a leg in a landmine blast. Bangkok has accused Phnom Penh of laying new landmines in the disputed border area where the militaries of the two countries clashed in May. Russia begins major naval drills in the Pacific and Arctic Oceans and the Baltic Sea. More than 150 ships and 120 aircraft and 15,000 military personnel are taking part in this exercise, which will continue till Sunday. Russia has the world's third most powerful navy after the US and China, but it has suffered a series of high-profile losses in the Ukraine war. China says it will seek to strengthen cooperation with the US as the two countries confirm their meeting in Stockholm next week for trade talks. This will be the third round of negotiations. The world's two biggest economies have been embroiled in a trade war, but in May they agreed to a 90-day suspension of tit-for-tat tariffs and pursue talks. South Korea saw a record birth rate growth from January to May this year. The surge follows its first annual increase in 2024 in the number of births, which happened after more than a decade. South Korea has been battling a demographic crisis. It has one of the world's longest life expectancies and lowest birth rates. And more than 80% of Tuvalu's citizens want a climate visa to live in Australia. The island nation in the Pacific is one of the most climate-threatened corners of the world. Australia offers visas to Tuvalu citizens under a climate migration deal. It is part of Canberra's efforts to thwart China's expanding reach in the region. Everyone has a toxic relative. They're nosy, they're politically incorrect, also factually incorrect, but you can't call them out to their face. For India, that relative is US President Donald Trump. He's really testing New Delhi's patience. First, he claimed credit for the ceasefire with Pakistan. You've lost count how many times. Now he's hinting at mediation. As you know, that's a strict no for India. New Delhi says all issues with Pakistan are bilateral. So the US suggestion is an affront. It favors Pakistan over India. And these provocations have been relentless. Every week, Trump name drops India and Pakistan. So tonight, we're taking a closer look. What has Trump been saying? Why is he doing this? And what's the impact here in India? Trump repeated his false claims yesterday as well. He says 5 jets were downed in Operation Sindoor. He also claims he ended the fighting.
India-Pakistan was probably going to end up in a nuclear war if they kept, they shut down 5 planes in the last attack, and it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I called them and I said, listen, no more trade. If you do this, you're not going to be good. But they're both powerful nuclear nations, and that would have happened, and who knows where that would have ended up. And I stopped it.
The voice is Trump's, but the words are Pakistan's. Because India has never said anything about 5 jets. We haven't put numbers to the losses, neither on our side nor on Pakistan's. So where did Trump hear this from? Most likely from Pakistan. Maybe during his lunch with Asim Munir last month, the Pakistani army chief. Some people would say this is classic Trump. Don't take him too seriously. He just wants the credit. But Trump is not stopping at the ceasefire. His officials are going further. Pakistan's foreign minister is visiting Washington on Friday. He will be meeting Secretary Marco Rubio. Yesterday, the State Department was asked about the agenda. Would the US mediate between India and Pakistan, especially on the Kashmir issue? Listen to the reply.
He, after stopping the war between India and Pakistan, he also offered to mediate on Kashmir. So I was just curious, what are your thoughts that, direct communications on Indo-Water security, but what about Kashmir and the
smile. And we have Pakistan, who's going to be here for a bilat, and I'll be participating in that, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
No confirmation or rejection. Couple this with Trump's comments in Saudi Arabia. He proposed hosting India and Pakistan for talks. In his last term, too, he offered to mediate. So there are 2 possibilities here. One, he doesn't know much about the India-Pakistan equation. After all, he called it a 1,000-year problem. So clearly his history is weak. He doesn't know that India rejects mediation. That is the first possibility. Or second, he doesn't care what India thinks. He just wants to play peacemaker. And frankly, I don't know which is worse, ignorance or affront. Either way, it stirred up a debate here in India. The opposition is demanding answers. They're asking questions about Trump's comments. They're also asking why Prime Minister Modi is silent.
Prime Minister एक स्टेटमेंट नहीं दे पा रहे हैं. ट्रंप ने कितनी बार बोला है? 25 बार बोला है. ट्रंप ने 25 बार बोला है कि मैंने सीज फायर करवाया. ट्रंप कौन होता है सीज फायर कराने का? उसका काम थोड़ी है. मगर प्रधानमंत्री ने एक बार जवाब नहीं दिया.
India's parliament is in session right now. The government has promised a discussion on Operation Sindoor. If it does happen, expect fireworks. Meanwhile, at the United Nations, there were fireworks. Pakistan is chairing the UN Security Council this month. They organized an open debate yesterday. A debate on what? Peaceful settlement of disputes. The United Nations Security Council did unanimously pass Pakistan's resolution, but the fireworks happened in between. Pakistani officials used the debate to target India. They compared Jammu and Kashmir to Gaza. And they rigged up the Indus Waters Treaty. I guess anything goes at this point. The Indus Treaty is a bilateral agreement. It was signed by the governments of India and Pakistan. But now Islamabad is trying to globalize it, just like they're trying to globalize Kashmir. And at the United Nations Security Council, they found support. Turkey also raised Kashmir during the debate, and the US boasted about ending the India-Pakistan conflict. Then it was India's turn to respond. The Indian envoy let loose on Pakistan. He said it was a country steeped in terrorism.
The Indian subcontinent offers a stark contrast in terms of progress, prosperity, and development models. On the one hand, there is India, which is a mature democracy, a surging economy, and a pluralistic and inclusive society. At the other extreme is Pakistan, steeped in fanaticism and terrorism, and a serial borrower from the IMF.
Expect more of this, because Pakistan has a 2-year term in the Security Council. They will be on the council until 2027. So India needs to sharpen its diplomatic tools. We need to be ready for such games of narratives. The question is, can we count Trump on our team? A few months back, we gave you some advice on evaluating Trump. We said, don't look at his words, look at his actions. In this case, I know his words are bad enough, but let's also look at his actions. Last month, Trump hosted Pakistan's army chief at the White House. He tried to invite Prime Minister Modi at the same time. but the Indian Prime Minister declined. Before that, Trump approved military aid for Islamabad. Some $400 million to service their F-16 jets, the same F-16s that Pakistan used against India. And remember, the same Trump has cancelled $60 billion in foreign aid, but he kept the tap open for Pakistan. Then in April, Trump's family signed a crypto deal with Pakistan. After that, Pakistan has gone all in on crypto. So it's not just his words. His actions are also pro-Pakistan. In between, we saw one flicker of hope. The US State Department designated the Resistance Front. That's the group behind the Pahalgam attack. They designated it as a terror group, as India has been calling for. It's a positive, but it's not enough. As things stand, Donald Trump is certainly softer on Pakistan than India, and we'll have to see if others in Washington feel the same. India has enjoyed bipartisan support recently. If that also changes, alarm bells should ring, if they haven't already.
Just signed the largest trade deal in history.
It's trade deal season in America. Yesterday, Trump announced 2 more trade deals. After Indonesia, he now has deals with Japan and the Philippines. And as always, Trump was quick to take credit.
Just signed the largest trade deal in history. I think maybe the largest deal in history with Japan. And that was done with Japan. They had their top people here, and we worked on it long and hard, and it's a great deal for everybody. I always say it has to be great for everybody. It's a great deal. A lot different from the deals in the past, I can tell you that. But we're doing really well as a country. We're strong.
With the threat of higher tariffs looming, America's trade partners are moving fast. They're scrambling to sign deals before the 1st of August. That's the deadline that Trump has set, August 1st. So expect more announcements in the coming days because America's partners seem to have understood Trump's playbook. All these deals follow the same pattern. They aim to avoid his punitive tariffs. There is no full withdrawal of duties. Trump is still keeping some barriers in place, but he's forcing others to lower theirs. So America's trade partners must open up their sensitive sectors. They must sweeten the deal. They must promise big headline-worthy purchases. They must promise new investments inside the US. And we are seeing the same in the case of Japan and the Philippines. Both have secured deals with Trump. Under the new terms, the US will charge Japan a 15% tariff, 15% tariff for Japan, 19% for the Philippines. Next, we have market access. Japan is ready to open up sectors like auto and agriculture. This includes products like rice. And these are, remember, very sensitive sectors for Japan's economy. Japan itself is a major exporter of both cars and rice. So by agreeing to buy these from the United States, Japan has made a significant concession. Then we have the Philippines. It has promised to, quote-unquote, an open market to US products, meaning zero tariffs on all American imports. On the investment front, Japan has pledged to invest $550 billion into the US. Trump announced this himself, $550 billion. He claims the US will get 90% of the profits from these investments. As for the Philippines, they will import more soy, wheat, and pharma products from the United States.
There were certain markets for they were asked to be open that were presently in this right now are not open. But also the other side of that is an increased importation from the United States for soy products, wheat products, and pharma.
We managed to bring down the 20% tariff rate for the Philippines to 19%. Now, 1% might seem like a very small concession. However, when you put it in real terms, it is a significant achievement.
That was Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the president of the Philippines. He met with Donald Trump yesterday at the White House, and the deal was announced shortly after. So much hard work for just 1% tariff reduction. There's another important takeaway, by the way, from these deals. While Trump may sell them as major breakthroughs, none of these agreements have been signed yet. There is no legal text or binding document. The promises and commitments are only verbal, even vague. They may sound like impressive headlines, like Japan's $550 billion investment, 90% profits for America, orders worth $3.2 billion for Boeing. Apparently, that's the commitment from Indonesia. But nothing has been signed. And if history is any guide, Trump's U-turns may be next. He is infamous for going back on his commitments. He can very well start making new demands. Which brings me to India. India too has been negotiating with the US for months. There have been 5 rounds of talks so far, but a deal still remains elusive. Reports say even an interim agreement now looks tough. The reason? America's sweeping demands for market access, especially in sectors like agriculture and dairy. These are sensitive sectors for India. They're a red line for New Delhi. Millions of workers depend on these sectors for their livelihoods, agriculture especially. And Trump's recent deals give us an idea about his intentions. He wants tariff-free market access for American products, but he wants to retain, even raise his own barriers. He wants to keep American tariffs in place. Will India agree to such a one-sided agreement? Because as things stand, these deals serve just one man, and that is Donald Trump. The India-China reset is gathering momentum, maybe too much momentum. China is still choking India's supply chains. They haven't settled the border yet, but the reset continues. India has made the latest move. Our embassy in Beijing made a major announcement today. It will resume issuing tourist visas again. Basically, Chinese tourists can visit India soon, and this is quite significant. India halted these visas in 2020, at first because of the Wuhan virus pandemic, then because of the Galwan clashes. But 5 years later, New Delhi is back to issuing visas. Let's look at the numbers first. In 2018, around 280,000 Chinese tourists visited India, 280,000 Chinese tourists. They made up 2.8% of the total inflow. In 2019, almost 340,000 Chinese tourists, Chinese citizens came to India, 340,000. They made up 3.1% of the inflow. China has usually ranked in the top 10. Maybe we will see those levels once again. But what about the political signal? It shows that India is committed to the reset with China. Look at the timeline. In October last year, October 2024, both countries struck a normalization deal. India and China agreed to pull back their troops from the border. Days later, Prime Minister Modi met Xi Jinping in Russia. They agreed to push on with the reset. In December, officials from both sides discussed border issues, after which China announced a 6-point consensus. Among the points was resuming the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, and it did resume last month. Which brings us to 2025. This year marks 75 years of ties between India and China. We have seen a flurry of visits. First, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval traveled to Beijing. Then Defense Minister Rajnath Singh went. And finally, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar. In Beijing, Jaishankar met the top Chinese leadership. He did raise some uncomfortable issues. For example, the chokehold on rare earth supplies. At the same time, his larger message was quite clear. Listen to what he said, India's foreign minister. Continued normalization of our ties can produce mutually beneficial outcomes. China always wanted this. They were keen to put the border aside. Instead, they wanted to focus on the positives. They wanted us to focus on visas, flights, and trade, not the border conflict. But India said, hold on, let's settle the border first. Only after that can we normalize the ties. So far, we haven't seen progress on the border question. Then why is India normalizing ties? Well, there are 3 possible reasons. Number 1, These are low-hanging fruits. Pilgrimage and tourism are not controversial, so it's easier to make progress on these issues. That's the natural first step. Reason number 2, possibly. India is faced with a belligerent Donald Trump. He is slapping tariffs on India, like everyone else, and he's siding with Pakistan. So it makes sense to explore this reset, maybe not as a long-term alternative, but at least to put pressure on Washington. Because let's face it, Trump or not, the Americans need India against China. Next is reason number 3, an eye on next year's BRICS meetings. India will chair the BRICS in 2026 and Prime Minister Modi has unveiled some grand plans. He wants to give a new form to the bloc. But for that, you need China. Beijing has become a driving force in BRICS. Without their cooperation, the meetings won't be the same. Look at what happened in Brazil last month. Xi Jinping did not attend the summit. Neither did Russian President Vladimir Putin. So the summit did not have the same impact. We did not see anything radical from that meeting. Maybe New Delhi wants to avoid that. Whatever the reason, the government has to be careful because China's intentions are quite clear. They have been holding up rare earth supplies to India. They're selling weapons to Pakistan. They gave satellite support to Islamabad during Operation Sindoor. So this is not a country you can trust. We'll have to wait and see how far India will go. Chances are direct flights will soon be resumed, but anything after that must be monitored. For example, reviving the RIC platform. That's Russia, India, China. A trilateral grouping, Russia, India, China, RIC. Both Russia and China want to revive it, but India remains half-hearted. Reviving that would be a signal of stronger Indian commitment. So would relaxing bans on Chinese technology. Let's see if India is willing to go that far. Normally, Parliament sessions start off with a bang. Controversies, protests and adjournments. Very rarely do we get to talk about work or maybe an actual bill. Well, today was one such day. A new sports bill was tabled in the Lok Sabha today and it's making headlines. Experts say the bill will reform Indian sports administration. Even the holy sport, cricket, will be affected. Once passed, this law could overhaul sports in India. That too amid India's Olympic ambitions. So let's take a closer look at the highlights of this bill. Number 1, it will set term and age limits for executives. Basically, the president, the treasurer, the secretary general, they cannot be more than 70 years of age or 75 in certain sports. Plus, they can only serve for 3 consecutive terms, which is a total of 12 years. Now, this is a much needed reform because Indian sporting bodies are treated as fiefdoms. Most of them are headed by politicians, and once they take charge, they simply do not leave. I'll give you examples. Vijay Kumar Malhotra was president of the Archery Association. Guess for how long? More than 40 years, 40. Until recently, the Tennis Association was led by one family, the Khannas. They ran the show from 1996 to 2023. 1966 to 2023. Suresh Kalmari is another example. He headed the Olympic Association from 1996 to 2011. Clearly, the government wants to break this trend. And term limits is just one part of it. Highlight number 2, a national sports election panel will be set up. It will be made up of former election commissioners and they will oversee internal polls. Hopefully, no more rigging and intimidation. Highlight number 3, a more diverse decision-making team. Each federation has an executive committee. Its strength will be capped at 15. Out of these, 2 members must be former athletes and 4 must be women. Again, this is consequential. It's been a long-standing demand of athletes. They want one of their own in the decision-making team. Next is highlight number 4. A national sports board will be set up. This will have powers over all national sports federations. They can even suspend or de-recognize them. say a federation has not held fair elections or maybe violated internal rules, then this board can de-recognize that federation. It will also demand annual audits from these sporting bodies. If they fail again, they could face suspension. Highlight number 5. A sports tribunal will be set up. This will be headed by a Supreme Court judge, either sitting or retired. It will settle disputes in the world of sports, maybe regarding elections or trials or internal rules. This tribunal will have all the powers of a civil court. Its verdict can only be challenged in the Supreme Court. The idea is to speed up justice, because right now more than 350 sports cases are pending in various courts. Finally, highlight number 6. All sporting federations will come under the RTI, that's the right to information, and this is proving to be the big headline. Because India's cricket board, the BCCI, may not like it. Right now, the BCCI is an independent body. They do not take any money from the government of India. Therefore, they do not allow RTIs. But that's about to change. The Sports Ministry says the BCCI will also come under this law. They will have to register as a national sporting federation, after which all these rules will apply to them. And it's only natural. Cricket is returning to the Olympics in 2028. It will feature at the Games in Los Angeles. So the government of India wants to keep a tight check. And don't forget, India has Olympic ambitions too. We are bidding to host the 2036 Games, and to win that, we need better sports administration, more transparency, more accountability, and more expertise. Also, we owe it to our athletes. We've heard so many stories of mismanagement, of favoritism, even sexual harassment. That sort of an atmosphere can never breed champions. This new sports bill is a good start in addressing that. Let's hope it can be implemented without fail. Now let's talk about Ukraine. It is grappling with a crisis within. For the first time since the war began, thousands of people have taken to the streets. They protested outside the president's office in Kiev. Cities like Lviv, Dnipro and Odessa also witnessed demonstrations. Ukrainians are angry about a new law, a law that brings Ukraine's anti-corruption agencies effectively under government control. It is facing immense opposition both from civilians and soldiers. They say this law weakens democracy and oversight, and Ukraine's allies are alarmed too. The European Union has warned Kiev that its aid depends on transparency. The G7 ambassadors have called for urgent talks with Kiev. President Zelensky has defended the move. He says the current agencies are inefficient. But for many Ukrainians, this feels like betrayal. Here's a report.
Ukraine's capital witnessed unprecedented scenes yesterday as Russian attacks continue unabated. Thousands of Kiev residents gathered outside the president's office to protest. This was Ukraine's first major anti-government demonstration since the war began. The crowd included civilians and soldiers alike. They stood together not against Russia, but against President Zelensky. The message was clear. They do not want to see another enemy emerge from within. Similar protests broke out in Lviv, Dnipro, and Odessa. The row is over a new law. It strips the independence of two key anti-corruption agencies. The law now gives the president-appointed prosecutor general control over them. Activists see this as a direct attack on democratic institutions and a gut punch to the anti-corruption gains made by Ukraine. Activists say this is part of a broader crackdown. They point to pressure on the media and on independent voices critical of the government. But Zelensky remains defiant. He called the existing anti-corruption system inefficient. He said cases had been lying dormant for years.
Cases that have been pending must be investigated. For years, officials who fled Ukraine have been living peacefully abroad for some reason, in very nice countries and without legal consequences. This is not normal. There is no rational explanation why criminal proceedings worth billions have been hanging for years.
But many citizens remain unconvinced. For many Ukrainians, This feels like a betrayal. They have endured over 3 years of war. They have stood united against Russia. But now, they fear that unity is being used to undermine their democracy. The backlash is spreading beyond Ukraine now. The European Union has raised concerns. Brussels has told Kiev, EU aid depends on democratic reforms, and transparency is key to Ukraine's EU membership bid. A European Commission spokesperson called the move worrying.
This is serious and it is worrying, and there are formal obligations for Ukraine in this process, what Ukraine committed themselves to do. If that do not happen, it has consequences in the end.
G7 ambassadors have also requested talks with Ukrainian leaders. They want clarity on the pressure on anti-corruption agencies. So far, Kiev's response to these protests has been muted. But the message from the streets is clear. Ukrainians refuse to trade one kind of oppression for another. They are fighting 2 wars now, one against Russia, and another to defend their own democracy.
Elon Musk is no stranger to rash decisions. 1 minute he's tweeting memes, the next he's buying Twitter for $44 billion. But his next gamble may be his riskiest yet. And even SpaceX, his crown jewel, seems to know that. So here's what's going on. A new report suggests that SpaceX is offering shares to insiders. It's like a private sale. It would value the company at $400 billion, but tucked inside that offer is a curious little footnote, a disclaimer of sorts. And what does it say? That Elon Musk may re-enter politics. That's right, SpaceX actually warned investors about this, that its CEO might jump back into the political ring. And this is a first. SpaceX has never issued such a note in its paperwork, but this time they did. Does that mean something big is happening? Until recently, Donald Trump and Elon Musk were joined at the hip. They were America's power couple. One was the US president, the other the richest man on earth. Musk poured millions into Trump's campaign. Trump returned the favor with a government department. It was like nothing could go wrong. And yet everything did. They clashed over fiscal policy. Musk walked away from the government. He took jabs at Trump's Epstein connections. The US president fired back. He threatened to cancel Musk's government contracts. It was like a bad divorce. And it was playing out on social media. Of late, things have been quiet though, but it seems Elon Musk has had enough. This month, he talked about launching a third party, the America Party. Let's give you a quick primer. The US is a 2-party system. They have the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. But there is no law against a third party. A third party can, in fact, contest elections. However, the current system is rigged against that. But when has that stopped Elon Musk? So he wants his America Party, a party that represents those stuck in the middle, between the Democrats and the Republicans. He wants to represent those people. But there's a big problem with this. Elon Musk is the CEO of multiple companies. There's Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, Neuralink, and even the Boring Company. These are companies that depend on government goodwill. Their fortunes are interlinked to that. So Musk's political ambitions may hurt his businesses. In fact, they already are. Let me show you a new report. It says that Trump aides wanted to cancel some SpaceX contracts. SpaceX has around $22 billion in government contracts. Trump's team wanted to cancel some of it. But here's what they found. All of those contracts are crucial. The Pentagon needs Musk satellites. NASA needs SpaceX rockets. So the White House had no option but to step back. They could not cancel anything. Instead, they found another way to sideline Musk. Which brings me to another report. Look at this one. The US is trying to build a missile shield called the Golden Dome. SpaceX was involved in that project, the Golden Dome project, but now they're looking for alternatives. They are courting the likes of Amazon. So the business fallout has already begun. On top of that, there are federal investigations. Former executives are bailing, shareholders are panicking, and Musk is back to sleeping in the office. He says he's working 7 days a week. Then why is he doing this? Why is he so keen to enter politics? Come to think of it, the answer is quite simple. Elon Musk believes that he should shape the future, but the political order is in his way. So he wants to change it. He has the money, he has the ambition, but it won't be enough. If he's serious about a third party, he will need three things: infrastructure, patience, and allies. Unfortunately for him, none of these have been his strong suit. And if Musk continues to mix politics and business, he may find himself losing both. Because politics is not rocket science. If he's reckless, he won't just burn political capital, he might singe the very empire he built. Our next story is from West Asia. Last month, Iran and Israel fought a deadly war. It ended on the 24th of June. But since then, a series of mysterious incidents have been happening inside Iran. First, there was a fire in Tehran, then a gas blast in a building, and then a fire near another airport. Officials keep calling them random incidents. They blame it on infrastructure, maybe carelessness. But a new report suggests that it is something darker, that it could be Israel's doing. Our next report tells you more about what could be a new shadow war between Iran and Israel.
By now, the fire should have been out. It's been almost a month since missiles stopped flying between Iran and Israel. A ceasefire was announced on June 24th. For many, it felt like a moment to exhale. But inside Iran, the war never truly stopped. Not for the people, and certainly not for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Instead, the war just changed its shape. A new report suggests that something strange has gripped Iran in the last 2 weeks. An oil refinery in Abadan exploded into flames. A road outside the Mashhad airport caught fire. A shoe factory, of all things, went up in smoke. Apartment buildings suddenly started collapsing. Fires erupt so often now, sometimes 2 a day, that Iranians have begun giving them names, jokes, and memes. The government says it's all just bad luck. Old infrastructure, leaky gas lines, maybe a few careless smokers, but few are buying it. Reports suggest at least 3 Iranian officials have reportedly told international interlocutors in private that they suspect sabotage. This includes officials from Iran's Revolutionary Guard. They say it is Israel. After all, Israel has done it before. For over a decade, Iran and Israel have fought a conflict in the shadows. Nuclear scientists have been assassinated. There have been mysterious attacks, talks of cyber sabotage and proxy wars. Israel never really concealed its intentions. Its intelligence agency, the Mossad, even celebrates its operations in Iran in public speeches. So when the fires began popping up again after the ceasefire, the IRGC didn't need to see the evidence. They already knew the playbook. Publicly, Iranian officials are singing a different tune. A few blamed gas leaks. Others cited garbage fires. The most creative explanation was controlled weed burning, that too near the Mashhad airport. Ironically, it's not the sabotage that worries the regime the most. It's being forced to admit it. If Iranian leaders acknowledge Israeli involvement, they box themselves into a corner. Do nothing, and they look weak. Retaliate, and they risk open war again. So, instead of acknowledging that the war has gone underground, the regime is trying to convince the public it's over. But that's getting harder with every incident. And then, there is the nuclear problem. Before the war in June, there were faint hopes of a thaw. Nuclear diplomacy with the United States had been inching forward. Now it's back in limbo. Iran says it's still open to talks, but only if the U.S. guarantees no future attacks. Israel, on the other hand, has signaled it would strike again if Iran resumes nuclear activities. And the truth is, no one believes this ceasefire is built to last. So is the war over? Not exactly. The front lines are quieter now, sure, but the battlefield has simply moved to basements, balconies, and back alleys. The oil refinery fires, whispers through propaganda posts, just exacerbate the unease of a nation waiting for the next hit. In Iran, they call this peace, but it feels a lot like a shadow war.
You all heard the warnings before. Artificial intelligence is coming for your job. It's going to wipe out entire industries. It'll replace everyone. All of this sounds very dramatic, sometimes even apocalyptic. But there's no stopping the warnings, it seems. This week, That AI Doomsday Bell was rung again, and this time by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. He's in Washington, D.C., attending a conference by the U.S. Federal Reserve, and there he made some interesting comments.
Only 5 years ago, AI was still thought of as something that was in the distant future if it was going to happen at all. And even 2.5 years ago, which was right around the time ChatGPT launched, it still hadn't moved past the sort of nerds in Silicon Valley. ChatGPT launched on November 30th of 2022. That was even before GPT-4. And since then, the progress has been quite rapid.
Prediction 1, certain job categories will vanish due to AI. That's what Sam Altman says. Once AI comes, some jobs will cease to exist. And he has even given some examples. He talks about jobs like customer service and hotlines, basically your call centers. They will go.
Now, some areas, again, I think just like totally gone. I don't know if any of you have used one of these like AI customer support bots, but it's incredible. A couple years ago, you like call customer support, you like go through a phone tree, you talk to 4 different people, they do the thing wrong, you call back again, you wait through it. It's like hours of pain, ton of time on hold, and the thing that you want doesn't happen. Very frustrating experience. Now you call one of these things and AI answers. It's like a super smart, capable person. There's no phone tree, there's no transfers. It can do everything that any customer support agent at that company could do.
Prediction 2, AI will affect almost all jobs. And Sam Altman gives another example here. He talks about healthcare. The OpenAI CEO says ChatGPT is better at diagnosing diseases than most doctors. But will Sam Altman trust it himself? Will he himself go to an AI bot instead of a doctor? The answer is no.
ChatGPT today, by the way, most of the time can give you better, it's like a better diagnostician than most doctors in the world. And I'll, like many people here, probably put my symptoms in and test results. And, like there's all these stories on the internet of ChatGPT saved my life. And, I had this rare disease and it found it. And all these doctors didn't do it. And yet people still go to doctors. And I am not, maybe I'm a dinosaur here, but I really do not want to entrust my medical fate to ChatGPT with no human doctor in the loop.
It's a strange paradox, to be honest. Sam Altman sells AI like some miracle tool, even though he does not fully trust it himself. It's like a chef who won't eat the dish he's serving. Which brings us to point 3. Altman says AI is enabling bad actors. So the world is on the edge of a fraud crisis. The OpenAI CEO believes AI is increasing fraud, and it's time institutions did something about it.
Right now it's a voice call, soon it's going to be a video FaceTime. It'll be indistinguishable from reality. And teaching people how to authenticate in a world like that, how to think about, the fraud impacts. This is a huge deal.
That might be something we could think about partnering on, the identification of those hallucinations or the intentional impersonations. I think would be a really beneficial thing to engage in.
So doomsday warning, asking for caution and yet some hope. That sums up Sam Altman's speech at the Federal Reserve. But his visit to Washington is not just to scare everyone, it's also political. You see, America is set to release its AI action plan, a document detailing its approach to artificial intelligence, and Sam Altman wants to be in on the loop. Under the Biden administration, AI companies push for regulation, guardrails for artificial intelligence, that's what they asked for. But under Donald Trump, it is full speed ahead. There is no time to think. The message is to beat China, to maintain America's AI dominance, and OpenAI wants to lead the charge here. So amid all of this, Sam Altman is busy playing both sides. He warns about the dangers of AI, but he also argues that his company should be leading through this mess, almost like a firefighter with a controlled blaze. And here's where it gets ironic. Altman warns of a world where AI is doing everything, yet his own mega AI project can't seem to do anything. I'm talking about Stargate. Last year, Sam Altman teamed up with tech giants or companies like SoftBank and Oracle. It was to launch the Stargate project. The whole thing is worth $500 billion. It was supposed to create 10,000 jobs. Turbocharge innovation in the US, cement US dominance in the AI race. That's what they promised. Donald Trump even hosted Altman and other tech leaders in the White House. He announced this plan with a lot of pomp. But now it is stuck. The companies can't agree on where to build the site. SoftBank wants one thing, OpenAI wants another, Oracle is building something in Texas. So the only thing to show this year could be a single data center, one data center for a $500 billion project. So Sam Altman wants us to believe that we are on the brink of something big. A new world run by AI, and maybe he's right. AI will take some jobs in the future. But here's the issue. Altman is trying to pull off an impossible trick. He wants to be both the liberator and the regulator. He wants to be the visionary and also the voice of caution. He says AI is the future, but he admits he cannot fully trust it. He says AI will take our jobs, but his own AI mega project can't seem to create any. So yes, maybe AI is about to reshape the world, but as of today, it's yet to replace construction workers for Sam Altman. A passport is not just a crucial document, it's a ticket to explore new horizons. The more powerful it is, the easier it is to breeze through borders. So how strong is your passport? The Henley Passport Index is out. It ranks 199 passports on the basis of how powerful they are. Its new ranking is out, and India has emerged as the biggest mover. The Indian passport has seen the highest jump compared to any other country. It has climbed 8 places on this index to reach the 77th position. Meanwhile, the US passport is at its lowest position ever, and Singapore has the world's strongest passport yet again. Why do these rankings matter, and how are they calculated? Here's a report.
It's that time of the year again. As we enter the second half, the Henley Passport Index is out. It ranks passports on the basis of how powerful they are and tracks the global freedom of movement for passport holders. Today, Indian passport holders have a big reason to be happy. India is the biggest mover in the rankings. Its passport has jumped the most in the past 6 months. It has climbed 8 places on the index. From the 85th rank last year, it has gone up to the 77th. Now, Indian passport holders can travel to 59 destinations visa-free. Malaysia, Indonesia, the Maldives, and Thailand, among others, offer visa-free access to Indian passport holders, while countries like Sri Lanka and Myanmar offer visa on arrival. Over the past 6 months, India has added 2 new visa-free destinations. And this increase in access has helped boost its ranking. Because here's how Henley ranks passports. For every country that lets you enter without a visa, your passport gets a point. This applies to visa-free travel, visa on arrival, visitor's permit, and even an electronic travel authority, or ETA, when entering the destination. So the easier it is for you to enter a country without applying for a visa, and the more the number of countries, the higher your passport is ranked. Henley calculates the points out of 227, meaning for 227 different travel destinations. This is more than the number of countries on the planet, because it tracks travel to disputed territories as well. Henley ranks 199 passports, where multiple countries with the same score can get the same rank. In the latest ranking, Singapore has retained the top spot. It has the world's most powerful passport once again, and Singaporean passport holders enjoy visa-free access to 193 destinations worldwide. So it is not surprising that Singapore doesn't just hand out passports to foreigners like candy. Singaporean citizenship requires at least 2 years of permanent residency, a review of economic contributions and other qualifications, plus a compulsory national service for male applicants. South Korea has climbed to join Japan at the second rank, with access to 190 destinations. Several European countries hold sway over the 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions. Meanwhile, the US, which held the #1 position back in 2014, is on the brink of dropping out of the top 10 altogether. It has slipped to the 10th place in the rankings. This is the lowest position ever for the country in the 20-year history of the index. And because multiple countries with the same score can get the same ranking, there are actually 33 countries that outrank the US on the list. At the opposite end of the list stands Afghanistan at rank 99. It has visa-free access to just 25 destinations. Syria is at number 98 with 27 destinations, and Iraq is at number 97 with 30 destinations. So while some, like India, have reasons to celebrate, and some remain locked in lower ranks, one thing is clear. A passport isn't just a government-issued document. A passport can mean greater freedom to travel, more mobility, better economic opportunities, and even more personal security. After all, a powerful passport can mean the promise of a better life.
It has been called a pandemic. It terrifies doctors everywhere, yet we know so little about it. I'm talking about antimicrobial resistance, AMR, antimicrobial resistance. Think of AMR as evolution in action. It is a slow and silent process where bacteria and other pathogens evolve resistance. They begin to resist treatments. They begin to outsmart medicines, which are typically used to kill them. So the bugs become superbugs. For more than a decade, AMR has been understood as a problem of excess. Scientists say we pop too many pills way too quickly, we randomly and carelessly consume antibiotics, and this overuse makes drugs less effective. Microbes learn how to fight them. They become stronger, and eventually they're too strong for modern medicine to handle. This kills about 1.3 million people around the world every year. But according to new research, this focus on overuse has also hurt progress. Because there is another side to this story. There are millions of people who have never even taken an antibiotic because they cannot afford it. In poorer countries, less than 7% people get the antibiotics they need. But they are still being infected by stronger pathogens. Every year, about 6.5 million people die due to this the world over. So antimicrobial resistance, AMR, is a problem of both, too much and too little. And its global burden is only increasing. By 2050, deaths from AMR are expected to increase by 60%. More than 39 million people will die between now and 2050, and this will have a staggering impact, especially on the global economy. This is according to a think tank called the Center for Global Development. It says that superbugs will cost the global economy about $2 trillion every year by 2050, $2 trillion per year. Poor nations will suffer the most, of course, but some big economies will also be hit hard. Thanks to superbugs, by 2050, they will have to face GDP losses worth tens of billions of dollars every year. And it's easy to understand why. Superbugs mean more hospital visits, longer hospital stays, and more complex treatments. Countries already face high health costs due to AMR. We have the numbers. In the UK, it's $900 million every year. In India, $5 billion. In the US, $15.5 billion. So if things go as they are going, by 2050, these costs would balloon. And globally, they will stand at $176 billion every year. But this is not the only reason why countries will bleed money. As antimicrobial resistance rises, people will fall sick more often and for longer. Productivity will take a hit. Workforces will shrink. It's all pretty doom and gloom, isn't it? But there is hope too. In recent years, research has improved. Now there are powerful medical devices. They can identify pathogens quicker than ever before, at least in hospitals that can afford them. A majority of the world's nations also have grand plans. They have created antimicrobial resistance action plans. But there's a glaring problem. Funding. Fewer than a third of the countries have enough of it. So most have plans, but few have the money to implement those plans. And many are losing the money that they have. The UK has axed AMR aid funding from 0.5 to 0.3% of their gross national income. The US has cut about 80% of the funding. European countries like France and Germany have also made cuts. Western funds also combat superbugs in many lower and middle income countries, but now that funding has also been cut. This will hurt not just the poor, but also the rich. So here's what we'll say. The world needs more investment to tackle superbugs, to promote access to new antibiotics, and to limit antibiotic overuse. It won't be easy, but as simple infections turn deadly and cost the world trillions of dollars, this is the need of the hour. Indian cops busted a fake establishment today. You won't believe what it was. Not a fake restaurant, not a fake gadget shop. This was a fake embassy. It had luxury cars with diplomatic plates, fake diplomatic passports, some foreign currency, and even morphed pictures with state leaders. The man running it was Harshvardhan Jain. He claimed to represent the country of West Arctica. The story dates back to 2001. A US Navy officer claimed to have created a country in Antarctica. International laws prevent countries from claiming this land, but it does not mention individuals for obvious reasons. Nobody will be stupid enough to actually do it, to create a country, but this officer did. He has claimed 620,000 square miles of land. He claims to have more than 2,000 citizens, all living elsewhere. It's a joke that writes itself.
We are concerned about the news reports of our ambassador in India being arrested, and we demand his immediate release.
It's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla learns how to walk again after spending 18 days in space. Czech high school students join army drills as fears of a wider war grow in Europe, and a Trump sculpture emerges from a manhole in New York City. Finally, we are taking you back in history. On this day in 1952, the Egyptian monarchy was toppled in a coup. It was engineered by the Free Officers, a nationalistic military group led by Colonel Gamal Abdel Nasser. They overthrew King Farouk I of Egypt, ending the monarchy. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakarjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Skali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.